Welcome, everybody, to the That Kind of Nerd Podcast, a weekly show where we discuss what's going on in the nerd culture, latest in movies, games, and technology. I am CJ Mellon, joined this week by Brian Thornton and Jeff Thomas, our wonderful gaming nerd.
Yeah!
Hello, everyone.
Unfortunately, Josh could not be with us today. He did not realize that there would be 3 Dodongos, and he's on the quest for more bombs.
So we got Jeff on this week, and of course, since we have our gaming expert on the show, we're going to make sure we talk about some video game stuff. If you are a new listener, we definitely recommend you also go to thatkindofnerd.com, check out our website with some fantastic articles, some of which Jeff has actually written as well. So be sure to check that out and check out his articles. So, hey, let's start off with this. If you haven't seen Deadpool, shame on you. And you deserve to have this movie spoiled. So let's just start talking about it. So
can we put a sound file of that shame thing? Like, shame. Like the go-to cues where it's just shame ding.
Yes. I will find it.
Please.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
So let's just start off with holy shit, what a fantastic movie.
Epic and
Josh would yell at you because epic means long.
Epic does mean long.
Epic does mean long, Jeff.
And this movie was not long.
Yeah, that's true. It was. How long was it? What was the
hour 45? Hour 50.
It was a pretty concise movie.
Yeah, I mean, for nowadays where movies are 2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours, 2:20.
I will say this, and I didn't see a single age inappropriate person in the audience that I went to.
Well, lucky for you.
Made me happy.
I had some folks try to bring an infant into my theater. And I said, oh, hell no.
We had about 10 kids. And it was a matinee show that I went to. It was my friend's 21st last weekend. And it was the perfect way to get over a hangover. But yeah, there were like 10, maybe 15 kids there with their parents. But they were young parents.
Did you see, I think it was on Reddit, like some Facebook post of some moron who was just like, just had to leave Deadpool in the middle of the movie because my 8-year-old is not appropriate enough. And then someone else commented like, yeah, it's crazy that, they should give us some sort of warning. That movie's not for kids. And then someone else commened like, well, yeah, like an R rating.
R rating, or that entire thing that Ryan Reynolds wrote. I think it was him who wrote it. He was just playing Deadpool. He's like, hey guys, you shouldn't bring your kids to this.
What I loved about this was something that we were talking about. Brian actually brought it up for the first time, that we really hope that it's not just the marketing department who is in touch with what this character is and how he will work, that we hope that the actual movie itself does it. And man, that did not let down. That movie was Deadpool from start to finish, and it didn't miss a beat.
It is everything you wanted out of that movie.
The pacing was on point.
Yeah.
The entire, the whole meta concept of the character of Deadpool was on point. I personally would have liked, the only thing that I had a little bit of an issue with was not a whole lot of schizophrenic moments, but maybe they'll work towards that. I mean, there's definitely going to be sequels and stuff.
Yeah, and even Deadpool in his early stages didn't have those really bad schizophrenic moments that you see now in the comics, so... they nailed the character. And that was the most important part about this movie. You could have had whatever story. The character was what was most important, and they did it, and they did an amazing job of it.
And what I love is that I was thinking about this, like, what are we going to talk about? What are like the best moments of this movie that we should bring up? And I was racking my brain, and I realized the whole movie.
So no, I'm going to give you the best moment right here. From the moment the opening credits started, then to the moment to the end the credits started.
With the unicorn that may or may not have been ejaculating in the end credits.
and the fun thing is you have to, you start paying attention right away, and you'll catch it, because
I almost missed it.
The opening credits, they're happening, and it's so tongue in cheek right away. I'm laughing my ass off during the credits. My wife jazzed me in the ribs, and she goes, "Will you shut up? It's just the credits." I'm like, read them right now. Directed by an overpaid tool,
starring a hot guy,
starring. I thought it was like God's Gift or something.
Oh yeah, it was like starring God's Gift and like a hot chick. And a British villain.
I mean, the thing about the cameo too. I mean, just a few X-Men. Was it an obligatory X-Men? Or something like
X-Men B-list or whatever.
Yeah, and a gratuitous cameo.
gratuitous cameo. Thank you. Yes. So everything about, I mean, that part just on point. I mean, that's everything you want it to be. It's everything Deadpool is. It was so great. So, I mean, if you thought about one moment where everything kind of crystallized for you and you felt it was great, what was the one moment that stood out to you the most in the film?
I'm going to let Jeff go first.
Oh, I was thinking about this, and I believe there are 4 or 5 different moments in the movie that I would choose.
Fair.
Get it?
Okay.
No, but I think my favorite part, outside of Ryan Reynolds, obviously, he just nailed the character itself, but I loved Colossus. I thought Colossus was like so awesome every time he was on screen. And it was sort of like that Hulk / like Hulk Groot kind of character almost, where it's like, you love this guy. He's a strong, big dude and all this other stuff, but he's like, you see, I don't know. It was a cool
really
side
nurturing.
of Colossus that we haven't, we haven't seen that.
It was definitely the best version of Colossus. He's trying to give the girl like a protein bar. He's like, here, eat protein bar.
Yeah,
it's
and
good
he's,
for
like,
you.
Eating the cereal with
Breakfast
the
is
spoon.
most important meal of the day. There are 4 moments that you can be a hero.
Yeah.
That's so good. I will say there were 2 moments for me that I just lost my shit. I mean, just lost it. And one of them, Brian actually kind of gave to me before I saw the movie. He said, "Don't worry though, you're gonna see it coming and you're gonna laugh your ass off." And I still did. Like, it was a new joke where he's at the mansion the second time and he's like, "Hey, it's a pretty big house, and yet I only seem to run into the 2 of you. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Men." And like looks at the camera. Lost my shit there. And then the second one is the cab, when he's back in the cab for the second time. And he's kind of in the trunk.
The dude's in the trunk, yeah.
Right, and Colossus and Super Teenage Nova,
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
That's right, thank you.
Best
Or
superhero.
Sinead O'Connor or Ripley from Alien 3.
That's right, I remember that one. Oh, you can't do that. I am so proud of you. You have to let him go. Kill him. Just lost my shit repeatedly. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sure I probably took 1 or 2 of yours.
No, you did. Definitely that moment at the mansion, which I do have something to add to that. It's made even funnier because I just read a story that's actually a tongue-in-cheek, like, kind of jab at the studio, because they were about to lose all their funding unless they cut $7 million from the budget. So I guess that's how they cut it.
Really?
Yeah. So that I loved it. The other moment that I would say is when he's doing the flashback and he's introducing Blind Al, and then he does a flashback within the flashback and he breaks the 4th wall, and he's just like, I know, we're like breaking the 4th wall within breaking the 4th wall. That's like 16 walls. I absolutely lost it. That movie was so good, and so the comedy, the mixture of comedy and action were so well like balanced. All kind of wrapped around this very, very simple story for the most part, but that's what made it worth it. I'm sure I missed things because I was laughing so much. So this is definitely something I got to go see again, or maybe a third time in the theater, just so I can kind of pick up those things that I missed. The other moment that I almost missed was when, like right towards the beginning, Colossus has got him handcuffed, and he's dragging him. He's like, let's go see what the professor has to say about this. And he goes, which one, Stewart or McAvoy? All these timelines are so confusing. Just breaking the 4th wall and kind of poking fun at the rebooting of the franchise. It was amazing. And that's the character. And that's what made me so happy about this movie, is that obviously the director and Ryan Reynolds
he's a producer for this movie.
He was a producer. Right? He handled, marketing. He had such a huge hand in this. You could tell this was his baby. This was his pet project, and he knocked it out of the park. So,
it was over a decade, right? That they were, things were being thrown around.
They were trying to do a Deadpool movie since Wolverine Origins, since they bastardized the character in Wolverine Origins.
We don't talk about that movie.
We sometimes have to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the big problem was the funding, and then that short came out, and they showed that there's an audience for this after they showed that little 5-minute short, which is how they got it.
Yeah. This is the thing that really strikes me about this movie. So first off, this is one of the most the most successful rated R comic book movie.
Let's break down the numbers real quick. It is, first of all, not just the most successful rated R comic book movie, because there's not a whole lot. There's
Blade,
the biggest
Punisher.
opening.
Punisher and Deadpool, right?
Blade, Punisher, Warzone, Deadpool. I mean, if you want to include Watchmen, Wanted, those were both rated R.
Okay,
and
yeah,
both
I'll
technically
give those.
comic book movies.
True.
But it had the biggest opening of a rated R movie ever. At 133 million opening weekend, biggest opening in February. So that's pretty
lose Brian?
I
substantial.
think we lost Brian.
So Brian froze. He is still
Brian.
recording though, so that'll
Brian.
be fun. Hey, buddy, are you back?
Yeah, I don't know what just happened there.
You
Well, that was
phased out of
odd.
existence.
I did finish my sentence though.
Did you
about
stop
it.
mid-sentence or did you
No,
finish
I
it?
finished my sentence.
Perfect. So you just basically said it beat everybody, right?
I said it was pretty substantial.
Okay.
Cut.
The part about that's still something that I have a hard time wrapping my head around is that even with these impressive numbers, this movie was hanging on by a thread just to get made. I mean,
No one knew this was going to be what it. Like no one knew this was going to make this kind of money.
But what I'm saying is, so here's the thing that really hit it for me. At the end of the credits, before the actual stinger at the end, it said this movie created some 1,000 jobs, and it was a large number. And it was basically saying that not only was this movie, held together by, I mean, look at the span of how many people usually work in a movie, a relatively small kind of group. Because, I mean, we're talking about huge numbers when it comes to big comic book movies. Look at the amount of people that Avengers and all these people employ. This is a relatively small group. Look at the work they've done, and now look at the success that they've had. The fact that they had to fight a studio so hard to make this movie. I mean, this speaks volumes as to success. And you know that Ryan Reynolds is a producer, and people who are involved in this are just taking that money to the bank and sticking their nose up at Fox and just saying, I told you. We told you to believe in us. So
Yeah.
I hope now that they actually believe, because they only care about dollars, when we get sequels, when we get continuations, when we get spin-offs, it's just even more powerful than ever.
Well,
And that's good.
Deadpool 2 already slated.
Yeah, I did see that.
June 9th, 2018, which ironically was where Fantastic Four 2 used to be, but now it's mysteriously disappeared.
Oh, thank God.
And they are working on an X-Force movie.
That's another movie that we're going to forget.
Yeah.
No, that is that movie that you remember forever. So
Unfortunately,
this way
certain
you'll
people in
never-
my life will not let me forget it.
Like, I mean, even looking at Fantastic Four, like, look at there's a pretty decent fan base for Fantastic Four, something like that.
Yeah,
and
but-
they spend how many more millions of dollars on it? I'm not sure what the exact cost was.
But let's
like,
put this in perspective because, okay, so Fantastic Four was an utter failure, lost so
And
much
it-
money.
and it
And
was
this was a
made-
huge success.
And it was just made Fantastic Four just to keep the rights. It
And to
wasn't
do
out of
it,
love.
yeah.
It wasn't that because they had to do it. It was just trying to keep the rights.
That's the difference, is that you have a movie that was clearly rushed, that no one cared about, that they weren't true to the source material. The main problem with that movie
I
is
think you're
how
exactly
many
right with
changes they made to those characters and to that story. And it shows because it flopped. It's the
this
worst.
is the one time where having as Josh would say, the true believers on the project
True believers.
really paid off. Now it's rare, so true believers calm the fuck down.
No,
You're
true
not-
believers.
You're not
unite.
made for everything.
True believers.
You guys let that believer flag fly, guys.
You're gonna come into a world that's a little jaded, and your idealist world's gonna be crushed at some point. But be excited because this is a precedence that you can pull out a character from nowhere and do it. I mean,
It's
you
a
look
precedent?
at some. Yeah, absolutely.
I think you mean precedent.
How come anytime I misspeak, you guys can't just let it fly?
It was
No
he
one
was
gonna
he was
cut
saying
you.
President's
Speaking in a
Day.
recorded format.
It was released on President's Day
There you
weekend.
go.
I got you,
there
CJ.
go. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Wow.
it
Just
really
wow.
just makes sure that this can open the door for other projects. So I was very impressed. I will say this: I laughed my fucking ass off when the end credits came on, and there's that hallway, and I instantly, I mean, milliseconds after seeing that image, was like, oh my god, Ferris Bueller. Holy shit, laugh. I say, ha, audibly. Everyone in the audience tells me to shut the fuck up, and that happens.
Here's the best part about that. Clearly, no one in the theater knew what was going on because CJ felt the need to text me with just the word Ferris with a bunch of exclamation points because I knew he was seeing it at that time. And you could tell that like he saw that and he's laughing and no one else is. And he's like, what? You guys you don't understand. And then he felt the need to text me Ferris. And I was like, well, he's at the end of the movie. That's good. but yeah, that end credit scene was fantastic. The little end credit scene after it was fantastic as well.
Which one did you get when you saw the movie?
Me?
Yeah.
So I read there were two. I got, because during the second one, he says, I got the one where he said, and clean up, your garbage.
Don't leave your trash on the floor.
Don't leave your trash on the floor. That's a dick move. I saw somewhere that there's one where he says, and don't leak this on the internet because that's a dick move. So just two different things.
So let's talk about let's don't leak this. Let's get on to the part at the end that made my nerd part excited. I had a nice nerd erection.
Nerd action.
That's science.
Copyright Brian from that kind of nerd.
And that was we will have Cable in the next adventure of Deadpool.
Yes.
I mean that's big news. He's a good pal of Deadpool. They go around, they have some fun adventures. There's already some wonderful names that are floating out there. So I had mentioned before, there's a website called ranker.com, and they have a list of 30 amazing actors who could play Deadpool. It's open to people's voting. I kind of want to just go through some of them and see what your guys' reaction is. Brian looked at number one and then was like, I don't want to look anymore. I'm pretty much done. And that's John Hamm.
Yeah,
and
I'm good with that.
Here's 100%.
Here's why John
Hamm, good one.
Here's why John Hamm would be the best person for Cable. He can pull off the straight guy. He's done he's done very serious, some very kind of dramatic roles, and that's Cable to a T. He's very stoic and he's got that seriousness about him, but he's also got to be able to play off a Deadpool. And kind of like riff-raff with him every once in a while. And John Hamm can do that. He can do the comedy as well. We've seen him be a little funny here and there. So
and he was on The Soup. He used to host this Talk Soup back in the day.
Way back in the day.
He was just a host on SNL not long ago, I think.
But he can do both. And he can do them both well. He's got the look. He can throw a punch. I think he would be perfect. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, no.
He's the perfect build for it. I agree.
Whoever else is on this list is irrelevant because John Hamm should be Cable.
Unless Jeffrey Dean Morgan's on it, then I want Jeffrey Dean Morgan or John Hamm or them to fight to the death in the future with cybernetic weapons. I'm just saying.
So let me read. I just want to read the top 10 so far. And again, this is at the time that we're recording, which is Friday the 19th. So Ranker ranks these and moves them around. So the second one that they have here is Ray Stevenson, which you may not know by name, but you definitely know him from movies like The Book of Eli. He was in Divergent. He was also in
Thor.
What was it? Thor. Thank you.
Yep.
He was in Thor. So, I mean, you may know him. He's a number two. This is one that I could say if John Hamm turns it down, I'm actually think would be great, which is Stephen Lang. You'll know him from Avatar. He's the commander with the 3 slashes on the side of his face.
Commander military guy of the very general background story.
And Jeff, you'll appreciate this. If I remember correctly, I think he actually played Happy in Death of a Salesman with Dustin Hoffman.
Yes.
He's got some.
Oh my God, were we both at the theater? Oh my God. Sorry,
it's pretty lofty. So CJ and I are just going to talk about it for a minute and leave you out entirely.
That's fine. I'll just sit in the background doing my Bane voice, annoying the shit out of you.
Oh, well, you will try.
Oh, Jeff, you have not heard my Bane voice before.
Oh,
that's good. That's
Jeff,
good.
It is so nice to have you with your lovely voice.
We used to do it over the headset at work.
So,
I tend to slip into Deckard Bane, which is a combination of Deckard Cain from Diablo and Bane.
What I do like about Stephen Lane is that he has both that military, persona that he can play on. The guy, just like John Hamm, has range where he can go ahead and play off comedy. I think he's a good fit for it. Physically too, I think he looks great. So I mean, if John Hamm turns it down, I think it'd be a good addition to the cast. Next, they have Sean Bean, which you guys know from Game of Thrones and a million other movies.
But they can't kill him as Cable. So
and that's the thing, you can't kill him, so
he's out. Sean Bean dies and everything. That's a rule.
It's very true. The number 5 is Ron Perlman, Sons of Anarchy, Hellboy. It's a bit of a stretch. I think he's a great actor. I just don't think he fits Cable.
Listen, I think he's a great actor. I don't think he fits Cable too much, and I also want him to do Hellboy 3, so I veto him on all of those.
Yeah, is that coming? We need that movie.
Yeah, tweet to Guillermo del Toro and tell him to get his shit together. All right, Jeff?
I just saw Crimson Peak by him, and it was all right.
Amazing. Was that movie not great?
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
That was a good movie.
Tell him to cool his jets with Pacific Rim 2 and just finish Hellboy. And then he can do Pacific Rim 2. That's all I want right now.
What if Hellboy merged with Pacific Rim? I think that's a nice medium.
If there was a Hellboy like giant mech,
I was going to say, what if he was a big...
That would be pretty awesome. That would have made that squid monster in the second one a lot easier.
All right, number 6 for playing Cable is Kurt Russell. What did you guys think about this? Do you think this is too much? Is this good? Is it too 80s?
I love Kurt Russell from Tango and Cash and Big Trouble in Little China, and everything he does is pretty fantastic. So.
Captain Ron.
Isn't he in some kind of nerdy movie right now?
He actually just got cast in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy, that's right.
And no one knows who he's playing. But he did get cast for Guardians of the Galaxy.
If he's in Guardians, he can't do...
Guardians of the Galaxy comes out next year. They should be filming soon.
Are they going to allow Fox and Marvel kind of thing? I mean,
yeah, because actors never have played multiple superheroes. It's not like Ryan Reynolds has been Hannibal King and Deadpool and Green Lantern and in The Losers. And it's not like Chris Evans has been Human Torch and Captain America. I mean, it never... We haven't had multiple heroes played by one actor. That never happens, CJ.
But here's what I'll say.
No, I don't know what you're saying, CJ. It never happens, and it can't happen. You can't. That's why Tom Hardy can't be Wolverine, because he was already Bane. Plus, he would be doing the Bane voice in the entire movie in my head, and it doesn't work.
I'm just gonna say X3, Superman Returns, that whole fiasco with Fox.
I mean, like Brandon Routh is not the Atom, and he wasn't Superman. I mean, and he wasn't Dylan Dog, which is technically a comic book too.
Okay,
I mean, it's just it makes no sense to have an actor actually portray multiple people. I don't even like
when they're a bad actor overall.
Let's just. Are you referring to Brandon Routh, sir? Because Brandon Routh is glorious. He's magical.
Yeah, it wasn't Brandon Routh's fault that movie was bad. It was the whole script.
No.
All right, number 7 is Gerard Butler. Pass.
I don't think he's tall enough. I think all these guys are taller.
He's being an Egyptian god, and things are falling around him a lot lately.
A lot of things are falling.
I mean, London's falling. Olympus fell.
Yeah,
I'm afraid Xavier Mansion might fall if he's.
Listen, he's going to burn the whole desecrated Xavier Mansion down on your head. It's going to be biblical. Yeah.
Number 8 is Henry Rollins. Number 9 is Dolph Lundgren, and number 10 is Adam Baldwin.
See, now Dolph Lundgren, he was already the Punisher in 1993, so that doesn't work either.
I can't get past the Brain Games commercials. I just don't think he can pull it off anymore now. He's branded with Brain Games.
At the end of this list, did they just say, "Oh shit, there's only 7 people that are actually in the actual running for getting this"? We're just going to throw these other people in?
I feel like the Firefly fans were just like, "Well, Adam Baldwin, then he gets big, and then they remake Firefly. That's what will happen. That is how this will work."
I love Adam Baldwin, but I don't think he's Cable.
No,
I don't think he can pull that off
at all.
He's great as Casey, but
he's great as Casey, but not happening. I, for one, welcome our alien overlords to make this wonderful movie with whomever
you would, you freaking
cast.
pod person.
Listen,
he's one of them.
I'm obviously not in my MK Ultra persona. Otherwise, Dolph Lundgren would have been the obvious choice.
If he dies, he dies.
Well, yeah, I think Cable also talks a little bit more than Dolph Lundgren's capable of talking in real life. So
that's not fair.
Cheap shots.
Gee,
Dolph Lundgren, if you're listening to this, don't come kill me, because you're probably more than capable of getting through my little flip lock that's on my door.
He doesn't need to get through your door.
Jeff, I think everyone in the top 10 is able to kill you.
Touche.
I mean,
touche.
I don't know if that's like you're too easy to kill, or those
honestly,
are pretty good
Gal Gadot,
people.
I'm happy to have her come over and beat the living crap out of me.
My god! There's a picture of Keira Knightley actually mocked up as Cable.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I'm gonna try to find find the picture and put it in our show notes.
Is this safe for work?
I believe so.
Damn it.
Because that's something that Ryan Reynolds said at the end, and I thought that was hilarious. So there's some great people on the list to play Cable. I think we're all definitively okay with John Hamm as our number one pick. Mm-hmm. So whatever internet petition we have to sign to do that, let's make it so.
Oh, how good was Stan Lee's?
Oh my God! So let's talk about that real quick while we're waiting for Brian, Jeff. Stan Lee's cameo in this movie is fucking amazing. I have no idea that he was going to do that. It shows how great his sense of humor is, and I did not know that you could have that old of a guy around those many naked ladies without him dying.
Well, Hugh Hefner, come on. I think they were born like the same year. But I love the fact that he understands his source material still and is okay with it not being all family friendly.
Yeah, which is
you know
great.
what I mean? Like, he knows what characters are dark and he's okay with putting himself, the cameo now is like a staple of all these movies.
Right.
Just to have him be able to do that and just obviously have fun with it.
Yeah, Brian, what did you think of Stan Lee's cameo? Did you find that as hilarious as we did?
I think Stan Lee's cameos are always entertaining at the very least, even though he had nothing to do with creating Deadpool. But that's just my comment.
I just heard you go nerd mad Stan Lee in movie because he didn't make Deadpool.
No, I'm not mad. Stan Lee, you can't be mad at Stan Lee. He's like a tiny old man. Everybody loves him.
He's not like a tiny old man. He is a tiny. He's 93.
Yeah, great for him.
I hope they just film a bunch of him in random situations or in front of a green screen in different costumes. So, gosh forbid, if it ever comes to pass, the words and stuff I will not say because we can all understand what I'm getting at. They just have it and they can pepper it in any movie whenever they want to. It's my wish.
I'm down.
That's what needs to happen.
The only thing that I can think of to add was it didn't rely solely on fan service in the movie to get its point across, and I don't know, I thought that was kind of cool. It was fan driven, but it wasn't fan service.
Yeah, my wife doesn't know jack shit about Deadpool, and she still found it as gripping and entertaining as that. And Brian, I do want to say one thing, and I want to challenge you on this because I brought it up and you said no way, and then I looked online. I think
the internet is totally right about everything.
100% reliable.
I think that was a SHIELD helipad.
The internet is lying to you.
It looks just like
the internet says some people think this might have been a SHIELD pad, but
they did the aerial shot and they showed it side by side. The things on the side.
It's a giant freaking ship. It's a shipyard.
That's my conspiracy
it's a boat.
theory. It's my conspiracy theory.
Is it one of those clickbait things that have something circled in red, but there's really not anything there? And you're just
I didn't see nude pictures of Daenerys Targaryen afterwards, so I was very misled by the link.
Damn it.
Which you can just do. Watch Game of Thrones season 1. You can see it.
Listen. It is definitely it can't even be associated with a SHIELD pad at all. Just for licensing reasons.
I just thought
that's why they can't use Hydra Bob. That's why they can't use SHIELD for the same reason.
I thought it was just one thing that they
no,
said,
they can't. Do they want to get sued?
Can I add one more good moment,
please, and then we'll move on.
Hearing the word mutant come out of someone's mouth instead of miracle made my day.
That's very true. All right, so let's turn our attention then from the what's happening now, and let's throw back a little nerd nostalgia. For this, we want to talk about there's this really cool Coleco system called the Coleco Chameleon, and it's Coleco rethinking that maybe retro games are coming back.
Chameleon.
That song's not coming back, but the games might be.
That song should come back.
So
it comes and goes, man. It comes and goes.
So this is why I'm glad we have Jeff, the gaming expert, here on the show with us. This was unveiled at Toy Fair 2016, which, holy shit, this will just prove that there's a con for everything. And
Toy Fair's been around forever.
I've never heard of it. Sorry.
Then you're just not on my level.
It sounds super whimsical.
You definitely were not at the Cool Kids table, which consisted of me.
It also sounds like something that cannot be even 150 feet from an elementary school at all.
Wow.
So no offense
You
to
just alienated the audience.
Wow.
no offense to the fine people at Toy Fair who are listening to this podcast. Jeff, can you tell me a little bit about this console so I can shut up and not hurt everyone's feelings?
Sure. Well, last year we've seen a huge, just a complete rebirth of a lot of different consoles and manufacturers and game companies making retro games in, like a box set, basically. I had written an article. We talked about it on the podcast before as well. But so this Chameleon thing is, I think it's like part kickstarted, part financed through an actual, the Coleco company. But it is going to have all sorts of 16-bit, 8-bit, everything. I believe it's all
of the bits.
Yeah, there's so many bits right now.
At least
if you guys remember the Bit Wars, that means we can be friends, which I'm sure you guys do. But
Jeff, we can totally be friends.
Yeah,
so happy.
As I'm scrolling through the article, I read this earlier, but I just wanted to touch on one thing, but I forgot what it was.
That's the alcohol talking.
Yeah.
That's the preparedness talking.
Fine Pilsner beer. That's Miller Lite, by the way. Do we get any kind of royalties for that?
No. As a matter of fact, I think we now owe them money.
So effectively what it is, though, is they're going to have like all these games. I'm not sure if it's going to be a collection of them on a specific cartridge, but all of the cartridges are proprietary, which is a little bit of a point of contention considering the other consoles on the market like this, which I forget what the one's called. I should have looked it up, but there's one that actually has game slots for each.
Oh, yes. I
platform.
have seen that. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, the Navcoms.
Yes, yeah. And the reliability isn't that great, but they do have HDMI in that one. This one, I do not believe is going to be supporting HDMI.
No,
for when you need that bit to just be that much more square, HDMI.
Well, you think about it.
I think it does.
I think
this does have an HDMI out. I think
does it? Okay.
I think it has 4 USB ports and an HDMI out cable.
I was trying to hit up the specs, but I couldn't scroll fast enough to keep up with.
That's
my
okay.
Talking.
But what's nice about this console, Jeff, though, which is pretty cool, is that unlike modern console, because like you said, this is going to be a little more of the modern mixed with the old. This is not going to rely on DLC and patches and stuff like that in order to work. That's why you have these cartridges to kind of run the games. It's kind of going back to the old school thing, but we're melding the technology a little bit better. And I think that the price starts at here it is, at $150.
Yeah.
Which,
listen,
that's not bad.
I don't care as long as I can blow into the cartridge and make it work.
I hope you know
that's worth price of admission alone.
That never.
Are you a wizard? You just made it work
Just
again.
a little.
And
then
Jeff,
it worked.
to answer another part of your question, this is half Kickstarter, half going through the company.
Okay.
The Kickstarter begins on February 26th. So not up at the time of this recording or even the time of publishing, but probably by the time you, listener, because you're a little late and behind, it's probably started already. It looks really cool. My question, though, is, because I'm even looking at their Facebook page, is this something that you would purchase? Is this melding of technology enough for you to say, I'll spend $150?
Honestly, I would buy Rare Replay or Nintendo Remix or something like that, probably over this console. But obviously we haven't seen it in action yet. But that's just because I know I have an HDMI out. I don't have to get another piece of equipment. Same reason I wasn't going to get the other one that worked with the older cartridges, but. Not to say I don't like the old games. And the
what if it what if it does have, maybe I'm wrong. So that's not the first time for everything for me.
Whoa, no,
that's what I'm saying. What if it does have HDMI out though? What if it does? Is that something that?
But again, it's another thing. You know what I mean? It's another thing you have to put on your stack of electronics. And I don't know about you guys, but right now it goes the Master Chief like legendary edition of the one Xbox. On top of on the bottom of all my cable box and all that other crap. I use collector's editions to prop up my cable and all my Blu-ray and stuff. But that's basically my audio cabinet, and I really don't have space for another system. So I don't know. I do think it's a cool thing, though. I will say that much. I think any retro gaming console is a cool thing.
So according to the Wikipedia page for this, this will have. This will have an HDMI output for it. It will also have USB, A and B, for it, high audio quality for it as well. So this is an updated console. This will have
so it's more like that. It's more like the other one that already exists too, except that they're using their own cartridges now. So
right, and they say as long as you own the cartridge, you own the game. Here's the thing though that's a little interesting about it, which could give you a little bit of a hesitation to it. This was originally on Indiegogo. Back in September 29th of 2015, they had a goal of $1.95 million and only got 81,000 of it.
That is mucho dinero.
Yeah.
It is mucho dinero. Now, I mean, there's a lot of talk, but when you're launching a product, there's a big difference between Indiegogo and Kickstarter, because Kickstarter kind of gives you some more incentive as a fan, as a quote unquote investor. To get something out of it, so more people are on Kickstarter than on Indiegogo. So maybe they're going to have some luck there. But getting $81,000 for a product, it's not a bad way to go. But a USB custom controller. I mean, the picture of the controller looks great. I'll make sure to include a link in the show notes for our.
It's kind of like a hybrid between Xbox and PlayStation controller, and even the Steam controller. If anyone knows what that looks like, it looks kind of like that as well.
It reminds me a little bit of a Sega Genesis controller.
Yeah. Just with a little longer handle.
Yeah, and I mean, it looks beautiful. The console looks great. It looks great. I think for $150, I'm down for the console, but the question is, how much are the games going to cost? If it's typical $60 games, no.
I don't think they feasibly can. Well, number one, because you can buy a $60 game that has, 150 old games on it already for your Xbox or your PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I think the real issue is going to be demand and whether or not they can actually beat the Titans right now that are just revamping their old games.
Because, I mean, honestly, too, this is the other part, that this is something that you can do on a computer with an emulator with a wireless, Bluetooth controller.
Exactly.
And you can kind of get it all done. But I will say this. It's nice to see a company like Coleco, which I didn't think was still in any kind of business whatsoever.
It's not. It's just one guy in his basement.
Is that what this is?
So you're like, please bring Coleco back.
He's on a Commodore 64.
He's piled under Cabbage Patch Kids.
He's actually like in a bomb shelter. Like, he doesn't know that new technology's been introduced.
He's John Goodman in Cloverfield Lane.
Exactly.
So it's cool to see them do this. I will say this. This is something that you should definitely follow. If you are a hardcore nostalgic gamer, this is probably something that you would buy the first gen in as a general consumer. Because what was the Android console? Was it the Ouya?
Yeah,
the
Ouya.
Yeah,
the
thing
Ouya.
that never was in stock, but everyone asked for.
We had
for
it
like 2 months.
I seen it in stock at locations. The thing is this: it was a console that sounded so great. The design was beautiful. The functionality looked amazing, and no one turned out to support it. You're going through old games this time, a little easier because they're already completed games. You just got to put them on these cartridges. I don't know. Time will tell. We shall see. What do you guys think? Is this something that you would pre-order? Would you pre-order it for $150?
Brian, you let me go first last time.
I'm looking at my collection of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and 64 Genesis games, and I'm going to say no. Because I'll just get my old games and use them on my old systems that I still own. That's just me, though.
Jeff?
I would say if you don't have them, it would be a wise investment.
I am not opposed to this, I shouldn't say, but what I would do, just like Brian, I have a whole, if I was going to go back and play my NES games, I would get the other console that has all the different cartridge slots so I don't have to repurchase all these games. You know what I'm saying? Because we all... I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I have piles of games. It's just I can't imagine spending $150 on, let's just say, Donkey Kong Country when I can get a HD remaster rare replay version for $20.
I have Donkey Kong Country.
But hold on, but Rare Replay... Never mind. We're not going to fight. Rare Replay doesn't have Donkey Kong because of licensing, blah, blah, blah.
I thought it had Country.
No.
No, it just has the rare games, not the ones they partnered with Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
But that's
you know what I
neither here
mean.
nor
Like
there.
Battletoads. I'll say Battletoads.
That's okay. Yeah, Battletoads. Which, all right. And so, I mean, I'm on the same thing right now. For $150, I have my old consoles. They still work. For me, Jeff, I would like an HDMI port. Hooking up old consoles to a new TV, not the easiest process. But that's not enough to make me spend $150.
Oh, I don't disagree with you
games.
there. I'm just saying that other console has all the slots.
It's true, yeah. So I'm gonna say no. I would rather go and support one of those local businesses like Planet Games and Emmaus, where you can go ahead and buy old games. Just a shameless plug. I think they're great guys. And instead of going to a GameStop or going to a Best Buy or to a Target and just feeding money into this company, I don't think it's worth it. So.
Support your local game co.
Yeah, support the little guys. And Coleco's had its run. So, well, we shall see. This may be turning around to be something that gets impressive. Maybe they dip in the VR spectrum and see if that works. But interesting thing, I thought I'd bring it up. Links in the show notes. Tell us what you think about this. Is this something for only $150 would be worth it? That's about the cost of an Apple TV. So, definitely something to consider. I think it's a pretty cool thing. So I want to move on to this really awesome, cool piece of tech, and it's a nice harken back to the way that we viewed technology in the movies, and it's coming true in real life. There's this tiny glass disc, which they have affectionately nicknamed the Superman Memory Crystal. It is a glass crystal disc about the size of like a nice sized Pog Slammer.
Wow.
Yeah, throwing that
reference.
And all the developers just
not
were like,
that I did not
Superman
love that reference.
disc with 360 terabytes,
and this is it, man. It holds 360 terabytes of storage, and will save it for over. And this is going to sound like ludicrous years, 13 billion years. And it's not just like hanging out there like at 190 degrees Celsius, like. Holy shit. That's a ton of storage that you could forget a whole civilization.
That's like every single book and then some. That's books that haven't been written yet. Maybe not Stephanie Meyer's.
If you took porn off the internet, I think the whole internet could fit on that.
I'm thinking it's just gonna hold maybe the Game of Thrones series.
Or
you know what though?
It is now
that I think about it, with George R. R. Martin's writing style, it will take 13.8 billion years to get the whole thing on there. So you will have to hold it over time.
Well done.
So this is being developed at the University of Southampton's Optoelectronics Research Center. Take that, words I can't pronounce that I somehow figured out how to say.
That must be an acronym of some sort.
You can totally pronounce them. You just probably don't understand what they mean.
I have no idea what optoelectronics are, but I'm assuming it has to do with light and electronics.
Way to break down the Latin of it.
Woot. Anywho. So this is pretty awesome. I mean, you look at you really just look at Superman. I mean, let's not bullshit around that. That is what we all dreamed computers would be. We used to watch shows in the 90s that would take down the world with a floppy disk. They let's put this in the computer. That'll save the world. We're talking about...
And that was like, what, 50 megabytes? Not even. If
you're lucky.
Yeah.
And we're talking about something that is 360 terabytes on a small disk. That's just mind-blowing to me. I mean, were you guys impressed at all by this?
Well, my first reaction was, looking back even from 15 years ago, I remember getting my first, maybe 10 years ago, where I got my first like terabyte hard drive, and the thing was probably about 5 inches thick.
And you were like, this could hold everything.
Yeah, I literally would pirate music from Russia, but don't worry, because probably the deniability clause or whatever that that thing is run out now, so I could say I did it then. But yeah, like, it's insane to think about all that information in just a small piece of equipment.
What's impressive about this, too, is right now, so they've tested this out, and I have no idea how you read it. I don't know what software and hardware you need to actually like read the data, but they have already saved versions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, basically all of Isaac Newton's works, the Magna Carta, and the King James Bible, all on these little devices here, and they're calling it 5D storage, because it basically does use a bunch of dimensions in order to work it. I mean, Brian, you have a smug look on your face. Are you not impressed by this wonderful...
No, you just said 5D. It made me laugh. Sorry.
What made you laugh about 5D? The fact
Nothing. I'm just 8 years old. Whatever.
What about this technology, though? Do you think this is something that will actually
CJ loves
use?
the 5Ds. I'm just saying.
Is this dodgeball? Am I getting the reference?
You can take it however you want, Jeff.
5 Ds. Okay. All right. There's 2 different ways I
He
took
said
it.
he was
one of
8,
which was
so
a
I want you
reference
to
a
take it
movie.
the way that you actually took it. All right. Don't. Brian, don't spit on my cupcake and tell me it's frosting. I know what you were thinking.
That is not how you use that phrase.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's how she uses that phrase.
So Brian, what do you think of our 5D Superman memory crystal disc?
I think until it beams a hologram projection of Marlon Brando, I'm not impressed.
You mean in a tinfoil covered?
I don't give a shit what
Suit?
foil suit he's wearing. Just until I see it in my ice cave.
I was going to say, Brian, you could theoretically live in the Fortress of Solitude with cats.
The thing that I'm thinking about is that considering how much stuff this can hold, this could get your entire comic book collection and you could hold it in your palatial estate in a drawer, right? So this way, when the cats are going through the whole room, since the cat to meal ratio is rather low, you can protect your entire comic book investment with just a fraction of one of these discs.
Yep.
And last for billions of years. What a way to preserve
it. It's also water resistant, I think, right?
Water resistant and can go into over 190 degrees Celsius. That's fucking
so
hot.
Cat piss.
What about
gold.
scratch? Is it scratch resistant?
I don't know.
You gotta think that thing gets scratched up, the data is damaged.
No, because remember, it's 5 dimensions. It's going deep. It's going layers in deep.
So it's going
It's
across
going
the
5 deep.
y-axis, the z-axis. It's also it's across time and space, apparently.
It's wibbly wobbly. It's time, space, depth, and smell. I don't know what D's they're doing.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge? Because I'm just.
If you look at it with blue glasses, it has different data. But if you look at it with red data or red glasses, it has different data too.
And that's when Sean Bean comes out from behind you and tries to take it, but Nicolas Cage will not let it go, and he'll save the world.
And then Sean Bean ultimately dies.
Right,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
You don't have
Probably
to worry
within the
about
first act. Yeah.
You usually within the first 30 minutes. So I mean, you're fine.
But here's the really cool thing, man. And when you really think about what's going on in the world when it comes to cloud storage and how we're trying to store things, in our digital life. Like right now, if the internet went away or if Google stopped storing my photos, I have no pictures of my daughter. Like not a single one at that point.
I find that you use this podcast just to prove that you're just not a great father.
It's very true, but I don't have a single printed picture. I don't know how terrible that is, but they're all in the cloud. Every picture of my daughter ever. I put it on something like this, last for billions of years. Someone later on finds it, great. But the other thing I'm thinking about is this, and Jeff.
So when the mutant people find pictures of your daughter, you're okay with that?
Yeah. They're mutant.
That doesn't go into your privacy
Crab
act
people,
at all.
Mutant people, lizard people.
Here's the other thing, Jeff, and maybe you can chime in on this too. I'm thinking of and Brian, you'll appreciate this as well. Film preservation. There are films that are literally falling apart in vaults.
That I can get on board with, yeah.
Right, and we're losing film. We're losing that stuff. So this is a way to preserve it. And have
audio. Like think about older recordings and stuff. That's awesome.
This is I think a great way to preserve the legacy of mankind. And then of course back up your pirated movies and songs as well, and all your pictures of.
It's a really important philosophical question.
We're talking about how great it would be to preserve all sorts of audio, like famous I have a dream speeches and stuff like that. But humankind, we're just going to store a shit ton of porn on it. And that's it. Years from now,
but they've started
the mutant lizard people will find just troves of porn and they're going to be really confused.
But they will know who Jenna Hayes is. And guess what? It's probably right after George Washington, so I'm okay with that.
Listen, they started off noble. The first 5 things, or the first, 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's the same process as the casting for cable. It's like the first 5 are great, and then the other ones are just like, sure.
Just throw whatever you want on there.
They've done it. Listen,
it is proven time and time again. Whatever porn backs up is the future medium. So if porn backs this, I'm sure it'll take off. I'm just saying.
Take that, Betamax. All right, so it comes down to this. I thought this is really interesting. This is science fiction becoming science. This is science fiction becoming a reality in the world. It's not often that happens and then isn't instantly used to kill people. So I'm actually really impressed that this is something that's just amazing. So hats off to those scientists working on this. Now make it so I can plug it into an Apple product and I'll be happy.
Yes, so hats off. The mutant people will enjoy our porn.
So they can check it out.
Yeah.
Hashtag there's a whole lot of
hope. They might
hope
appreciate it. I mean, if they're not like budding instead of actually sexually reproducing, if they're not just budding off of each other.
Hashtag 5D porn.
That's enough. That's enough of that.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Hashtag 5 deep porn.
All right. Well, you know what? While CJ is, doing whatever he does, I want to actually talk to you about something, Jeff.
Yeah, sure.
I just bought Streetfighter V this week.
Yes.
Have you played it?
I've played it one time. I played the beta when I went to visit my buddy in DC, and the beta was freaking amazing.
So here's what I think is really cool about this, because I bought it and I'm like, there's like no unlockables right now. There's nothing there's no extra things to unlock. And I'm like, well, that's kind of dumb. And I was doing some research. So apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're going to be playing the game and you earn these like fighter points and like in-game currency to where the DLC that's going to be coming out, you can either purchase using your in-game currency that you've used by playing the game, or you can just buy it. But there is a way to just kind of get all this DLC without actually spending money.
What game is this?
This is Street Fighter V.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The big mystery where everyone's like, "Oh, well, I have to buy DLC." Well, the content's already there for the most part. So I think it's a great system to have one method of pay. If you just want to buy it, then buy it. If you actually want to play the game and unlock the stuff, I think that's better.
That's what I was so happy to hear about, is that I don't want to spend $10 for 2 characters and a bunch of costumes like every 3 months, I don't have to. If I actually want to just play the game and earn some points and earn some rankings and then use that to unlock that DLC, that's awesome.
Every game needs to do that model.
That's old school, like when I would play Street Fighter on my Super Nintendo just to unlock like Blanca or something.
You have all that material already there. Why can't I access it? Is my big thing.
So I thought it was a genius
you're
system.
Seeing a lot of resurgence. Sorry to cut you off, but a lot of more resurgence with like games doing that now. Like Here's the Storm has done it. Overwatch is going to do it. Blizzard's next title, and a bunch of other ones for console. Because like you have like the Ubisofts and the Activisions, which will always want to charge more. But hopefully.
I hope this is something that can catch on. I think a lot of, especially like first person shooters and stuff like that, could benefit from doing a system like that.
Agreed.
So I want to take a quick moment, and I want to thank our fans for calling in and leaving some comments, because we got a wonderful comment that I cannot wait to talk about, because we talked about how much we love Deadpool. So I thought I would say this for the end of the show. So there's lots of ways that you can go ahead and have your voice on the show. You can get to us at Twitter at ThatKindOfNerd, Facebook.com/ThatKindOfNerd, or you can even call our phone line 484-373-4119 and actually have your voice on the show. So I want to play a viewer comment that was about Deadpool, and I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about it as well.
Hey, this is TD, longtime listener. I recently watched Deadpool when it first came out. I was super excited to see it. I didn't know what I was getting into. I knew a little about the comics. I knew about his wit. I knew about all the controversies behind it with all the swearing and stuff. Actually, just watching Deadpool, just like seeing the story, it kind of seemed kind of boring to me. I don't know if it's from the original comic book or what it was coming from, or if this was an origin story. I'm not 100% sure. Like I was kind of like, just like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is going to happen. Oh, good. Girl gets kidnapped. I mean, there's your typical comic book story. I was kind of upset with it. All the jokes were pretty funny. I've always loved the sarcasm and everything. I felt like the movie was great. Great film. I didn't think it lived up to the hype that everyone was portraying. Just wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on it. Brian, I know you're probably going to fight me on it, because I'm sure this is probably going to be one of your favorite movies. But yeah, thanks for all you do. You definitely make my drive while I'm working more enjoyable. Thank you.
So, TD, I will start this by saying, as a fellow person who goes by 2 letters for his name, thanks so much for calling in and sharing your opinion with it. I will say this. What I took away was I'm at least glad that you liked the fact that it was a good movie, that it was a good film. I know you see a couple cliches and potholes in there, but I'm at least glad that you at least liked it. The question really comes down to, man, they hyped this movie up. Did it live up to the hype? Did it bypass that? What do you guys think about it?
I will fight you, TD. No, no, I could totally see where we're coming from here. It is a very simple story. It's guy meets girl, guy falls in love with girl, guy gets cancer, guy gets superpowers, guy saves a girl. I don't think that was really a hindrance in this movie at all, though. Obviously, there's probably some budgetary issues there, which kind of lend to the simplicity of the story. But at the same time, you're introducing a new character and who you need to devote time to developing that character, and getting really convoluted with, crossovers and all this other stuff can kind of bog that stuff down. I think they did a smart call by keeping the story a little simple so that you could focus more on the humor and the savagery and the raunchiness that is Deadpool. Now that this movie was such a success and that, we're all enjoying it. I think in a sequel, you're going to get a little bit more complicated story, a little bit more convoluted, and especially when we start introducing Cable and time travel and X-Force.
And Apocalypse. Think about that.
The possibilities are endless at this point. I think this was a perfect building block to kind of build that stuff on top of.
TD, I have a follow-up question for you, because the one part with the simplicity, we've seen origin movies. They actually make fun of X-Men, Wolverine's origin in the movie, on how terrible it is. And we've seen Spider-Man and all these people do new characters, and we've seen them do origin stories. I'm curious how you liked the way they did the flashbacks and the way that they explained how he got to where he is, as a cool, effective way to do it. Because I think that was what was so awesome about the movie, is that you got to introduce a new person in a way that we never have before. So I'm curious, TD, what do you think about that? Forgot the second part of my question, so I'm going to go to Jeff. What do you got to say?
Well, we all appreciate the call and the message. However, I will disagree that it is, I don't know, I thought it was the most entertaining thing ever. And that's what you go to a movie for, and was it a simple story? Yeah, but I think the writers knew exactly what they were doing, making it a simple story, because that's not the actual progression of the movie, in terms of plot, isn't really what the characters are about. I think the characters stood out from the plot. And, I will disagree with you that it was boring. I may have misquoted you, but, I think you can only be more impressed, so keep going to see the movies.
I think the coolest thing, and this is the second part, so I finally just remembered, was what they got away with.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe that's where some of the hype comes from, which is they're going to talk about the X-Men. They're going to do the breaking the fourth wall. They're going to cut people's head off and then kick it to somebody else. They're going to use dead bodies to spell out Ajax.
Francis.
I'm sorry, Francis. That's right. He spelled out Francis. Don't give me that sigh. You've now ruined anything you're possibly going to say.
It was a major plot point of the movie. As simple as the story was, the main story was...
If you didn't have the pop filter, you would have just heard an audible...
That's very true. But anyway, I thought it was so cool that they got away with that stuff. So I thank you, TD, for voicing the unpopular opinion on the show here. I'm really curious, though, to hear what you thought about the way that they introduced the origin. I'm really curious to see if you thought that was boring, if you thought that was unique.
TD, thanks so much. That was definitely awesome that you called in. I half agree with you. I half disagree with you. I'm not going to fight you on it. I definitely think it was a simple story, but I think it needed to be for it to be this successful. And that's just my opinion.
Well, and I think the success speaks for itself, too. So you got to break some eggs.
And to Mike, you know who you are, Mike. We're going to get to your call next week when Josh comes back.
To Mike, my not so attractive.
No, you're older, much cooler brother.
He's
older,
he's
much
not
cooler.
that much cooler. Oh, I kept. I mean, he's semi-attractive. He's average looking.
Older,
anyway.
much cooler.
Does he enjoy long walks on the beach?
He does. He does enjoy
dinners?
long walks on the beach. Mike, I know you left a voicemail, but I want to play it for when Josh is on. So we're going to play that next week.
My last bit of order before we end our show is I wanted to say a very happy birthday to our new fan and poor son of a bitch who has to listen to us at work way too often, John Williams. He sits right by Brian and I at work, and we talk about the show way too much.
This poor guy gets to listen to me talk all the time, and then he chooses.
Wait, does he realize he's composed the best music ever?
Yeah, and then he chooses to listen to us recording. So
yeah, talking about the podcast when we're not recording, just having the same conversations, all the stuff I embargo, that kind of stuff. So happy birthday, John! Thank you so much for putting up with us.
A very happy birthday to you, Jonathan.
It's just wrong. Just every single
Rise
time.
up and drink more liquor.
So anyway. So I want to thank you guys, the listeners, for making us your drive to work or your walk around the neighborhood. If you are a new listener, I would encourage you to go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes. Go check out thatkindofnerd.com. In the show notes, there's also a link as to how you can go ahead and help support the show and future endeavors of That Kind of Nerd. Thank you, Jeff, for coming on this weekend and filling the bourbon-soaked shoes of Josh Burns.
Oh, listen, I wear those same shoes. I got you anytime.
It's always nice to have your sultry voice here on the podcast. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Okay, let's move on. Shut up. All right, shut up.
Hey, are you referring to Brandon Routh, sir? Because Brandon Routh is glorious. He's magical.
Is Brian frozen again? Or okay, sorry.
He's just really stoic right now. He was like,
I was like,
super. He was just thinking like, God damn it, Stan Lee didn't make Deadpool, but was in the damn movie.
You definitely were not at the Cool Kids table, which consisted of me.